Welcome to a very special, long-awaited SSJ review. This time we're looking at the Transformers Encore number 23, Fortress Maximus. Now this is a Transformer I've been waiting for my entire life. And I did used to have a Brave Maximus about 10 or so years ago. But then I eventually sold it out of unappreciation for it and just the fact that it wasn't a true Fort Max, and regretted it for the longest time, and was saddened in the fact that this toy may have never been reissued. But in October of last year, much to everyone's surprise, got the announcement that the next Encore would be Fort Max, and of course I'm very happy. And here he is in his base mode, and as you can see, he is very huge. I'm having a hard time fitting him in frame, but this is the best base Transformer ever, because this thing has so many features and just looks like an actual city that it almost looks like it didn't even need to transform into a robot or have any other transform functions, because it just looks that much like an actual city with all the accessories on it. It has an amazing amount of stickers on it. The sticker application was hell putting on city mode, but it was well worth it. One thing I don't like though over that Fort Max has over Brave Max is I like how the tower on Brave Max is black with a bunch of tiny yellow lights, just kind of give it a little bit more illusion of size, and just see how the little tiny windows on there. But this is more or less just a gray slate with just a couple of little strips of blue and silver stickers on it, but it's not bad. It has, I don't even know where to start with the features, but the radar dish here rotates. It has a little spinny gimmick here on the side. There's a little tiny prison with a ramp on here. You lift this up and lift this little piece up so you could lock up all your other little bots, such as any other headmasters or microbots or whatever, and lock them up. Pretty cool. Each ramp has a little launcher so you can launch off his drone. And on the right side of the base there's a little compartment with a door hidden in, and there's a crank on the back here that allows you, if you had a little tiny car, which I do not have, such as unhandy, they could raise up, which is kind of tricky to do with my big hands, but it's possible. And then once you get it to the top, you'd press this little button right here to launch the vehicle outward. And the other side of the base has this little other drop door that you can have other little headmasters gather around and talk about, well, whatever headmasters talk about. And there's a little tiny helipad if you have a little tiny helicopter transformer to land upon. And this little piece also can fold out to become a gun, but I think it looks more appropriate to keep it like this in base. Now that we've covered all the features of the base mode, let's go to a little bit more into the accessories of Fort Max. First, the little guy, the headmaster. Now in America, in the US show, it was Spike, the human counterpart for Bumblebee for most of the series. But in Japan, this was just a little tiny robot. The toy, his name was Cerebros, much like just the giant, the bigger robot for the US. But he is simply named just Fortress, this guy, along with his combined headmaster form. And he has a pretty, for a toy at this age, it's really cool. I do like the way that it looks. Has a great amount of detail over him. Posability is not too bad, actually. You can get him in a sitting position, which actually comes in a little bit, is pretty useful, as you see in a little bit. And he has a headmaster, and I believe on all of them they all have this little flap that can cover their face while in robot mode. So really cool little figure, but name is kind of confusing. Now these are the drone vehicles that form COG. Nothing too special, just both kind of tank looking things, this has never been like a really cool feature with me. But on this piece here, you can get Spike or Cerberus or Fortress in a sitting position such as this, and just having kind of ride around, just and pretty silly. But they do form cog, which is kind of a drone warrior-ish thing, and this gray piece slides over to blue piece. You unpeg the guns and repeg them onto the sides to form the arms, and there's cog. Pretty basic. The only amount of articulation is in the arms, and they both fall out really easy. So not a too great of a feature, but hey, it's there. He also comes with this is a exclusive to the Japanese version of Fortress Maximus, which is a smaller Master Sword, which I'll get into a little bit later. Cog's gun, and Fortress's, aka Cerberus gun. Speaking about Fortress, aka Cerberus, he's actually hidden pretty well in base mode. He's actually right here. This is his only real vehicle alt mode, and he's simply just kind of halfway just transformed and tucked away in there. And when he's not in there, you can leave that hole open, or you can fold this up like so. And once you have him out of the base mode, you just unfold the legs, make sure he's all in frame, and flip out the arms, and then flip out the hands. Okay, and then you don't have to do this part, but I like to do it. Open up the chest plate, and you see that he has speed, strength, and intelligence, which are his stats. You see it's blank. A really cool part about the feature of the headmasters is that when you take the little tiny headmaster, fold up the legs, flip up this plate to reveal the face, you put it in place, his tech specs show, and since he is the leader, his tech specs are full. You close it up, head on. And I like to call this Fortress because I'm a big fan of the Japanese Headmaster series, and that's what his name is, but others can call it Cerberus. But this is a really cool looking robot. It's kind of hard. He is really cool, but also generic at the same time, and that's what I kind of like about the fact that he just looks like kind of like just an ordinary bot. But this is actually the leader of the Autobots throughout the Headmaster series, and he's G1 figure, so he's not great on articulation. His shoulders can rotate around, and that's about it. He has a little bit of wrist movement, and he can kick out to his side when his legs can go front to back as well. You can have him hold his gun like so. And the smaller Master Sword, which had no real purpose in the show, but just to activate the transformation of Battleship Maximus into the big mode, which you'll ultimately see in a little bit, but this was just exclusive to the Japanese packaging, along with the bigger Master Sword, which you'll see in a little bit as well. Speaking about Battleship Maximus, in the Transformers Headmaster series in Japan, he was never in this base mode. He was in the credit scene for whatever he uses float around in space as a giant city, which is really weird. But throughout the entire series, he was always it was just Battleship Maximus, or it was just like an attack form in the US. And to do that, it's fairly simple. Fold up these ramps. Go ahead and take off the radar dish. Fold up this piece here. Set that one off to the side. Kind of get it a little bit more situated, and so you can see the front of it. Real clicky here. Kind of fold that out. that, and fold down the foot. Alright, just do that again on this side. Actually, I'm going to fold this piece out first. Alright. And fold this little guy around. And pop this gun around so that's aiming forward. And let's see, can you see? Yep. Rotate these guns forward like so. And this is his longest form. Actually, and this, can you see? Yeah, this little tail piece that was part of the ramp. Fold that in as well. And close this little ramp. There you go. And, wow, okay, this is Battleship Maximus, which is gigantic. Now, like I said, in the Japanese show, this was a battleship, which means it was a spaceship it could fly. But in the US, it was mainly just like a battle station where it wasn't that mobile, it just kind of stayed on the ground. But the toy does have wheels. It does roll around pretty easily. Pretty much has the same features, of more or less, and you can use these guns here. But also, really cool thing is that there's a cockpit up at the top here, which is green. You lift it up, you can place the headmaster spike in there, and ta-da! Now, the way a fortress here would actually transform into the big robot mode, and say shouting out big mode, is that in the bridge there's a console that had this sword in it, the small master sword, and they would have to find a way to balance out the energy, and he had to pull out at the right time, and then shout master sword, and then that would enable the base to turn into Fortress Maximus. Now, transforming from this mode is extremely simple because you're pretty much already halfway done because this is a robot mode just laid down. But first things first, just going to lay down these guns. Take off these guns here on the side. Off the side here. Fold up the feet. Stand it up. Like so. Legs are for the most part done. But you can rotate this part in. And I like to keep it back here like that. Take the tower, split it in half. It'll snap like that. I have to keep on checking the camera, make sure everything's in frame. Take this piece here, fold it down till it clicks. Bring down the arms. Rotate the hands around. And main body is done. Take Cerebros or Fortress, whichever name you prefer. Fold in the hands. And fold down the legs like this, and you'll see some horns there. I'm not sure how much of that you just saw. And then fold this piece, you see his head. Now you can leave this little robot on or off. Some people like to leave it off. I'm not sure why, but there's plenty of room to store him in there, in the little crevice there. So I like to leave this guy on just because I think it looks cooler. And you just simply slide it up top there, and it clicked, and there's Fortress Maximus. Alright, like I said, Fortress Maximus, robot mode. He is 20 inches tall, nearly 2 feet tall. He is the largest vintage Transformer ever created, and he is a behemoth. The detail in this guy is absolutely incredible. The stickers do add a great amount of detail as well, especially the ones on his left shoulder pad. Give it a really nice amount of mechanical detail there. You can leave the stickers off, but it just looks a little bit more on the plain side. Plus, if you have the stickers on the head, gives them the horns, which looks really cool. But like, if you haven't watched my SSJ build video of this guy, be careful with the stickers, because if you mess up, it's extremely hard to fix any mistake you have. Now, as accessories go, this guy has a ton. But first, let me cover articulation. Full 360 at the shoulders, 90-degree bend at the elbow, 360 rotation at the wrist. And his legs can go in and out technically, but there's not much you can do with him at that point. No, you didn't see that at all. Can go in and out like that, like so. While I have his arms up versus big guns, literally and figuratively, they both fold out from his waist like that. And it's sad that in neither the US show or the Japanese Headmaster show, he never uses. It was not until Car Robots or Brave Maximus did he utilize this type of gun. But so sad, but so cool at the same time. Each arm is equipped with 2 sets of weapons. First set on the forearm. Rotate that out, lift up the gun, spin this little panel here on his hand, and rotate that set of guns out, which you can barely see. You can take the cannons on his legs and lift them out like so, and I was not expecting that to pop out. Just pop that back in. That was kind of scary. That's never hasn't happened to me yet. And there you go. Lift those up. I think I just brought it up a little too far. And you can take the guns that were featured in the both vehicle modes and attach them to his hands, like this. And you can see he is very heavily armed. Oh, and you can also take cog, split them up into vehicle modes, and store them in the feet, so he has another pair of guns in his feet. Now, as far as accessories go, went in the US, that was it, which is not by any means a slouch or anything, but in Japan, which is, it's unknown if this weapon was originally intended for the American release or not. It's really kind of hard to say, but he does come with the giant Master Sword, which is going from the bottom, which is goes to almost his shoulder, which is giant. You put it in his hand, it just kind of slides in place, and it stays fairly well too. And look at that thing, giant. And you can position the sword either like front ways like that, which I'd like a little bit better, although it doesn't really make much sense, but you see more of it, or you can turn the sword like that. So yeah, Fortress Maximus can pretty much take care of himself. At a price point between $300 and $350, Encore Fortress Maximus is a steal, because up until the announcement of the reissue, he was going for anywhere between $800 to $1,500 on eBay. So to get one in brand new condition with added accessories and just great packaging, which by the way comes with a foam tray, which is great for storage if you want to keep them stored and not on display, which is great for $350. This is a steal, but still that price is maybe still a little bit too steep for some of the younger collectors, but for veteran Transformer fans such as myself, which Fortress Maximus was a holy grail for ever since 1986 when we first saw him season 3 of the Transformers and the Rebirth. Not season 3, season 4. This has been just something we've always had to get our hands on. $350 is nothing. I honestly do not have any complaints with him. There's nothing I can really complain about him. You can complain about the lack of articulation, but I mean, come on. There's not much you can really expect from vintage Transformer this size. He is great. He is probably the most fun Transformer you could imagine. The base mode is a ton of fun, as opposed to some other city bots where the base modes are just big afterthoughts. This one's really fun. It has 2 base modes. It's a double headmaster. It just has a ton of play value. Just great to look at. Just everything about it is perfect. 10 out of 10 review for this guy. Definitely recommend picking this guy up if you have any sort of interest in him. Until next time, thank you for watching. And just one question. After someone has achieved their holy grail, life does seem a little bit emptier. So, what do? Do you move on to another grail? Or do you just settle on